Yeah, you better start this, because I can't, yeah.
I mean, is there a real way to start this conversation? I feel like we just have to go for it.
Okay, you Leroy Jenkins, go.
Vince McMahon. That name has a lot of charged emotion behind it. Now more so these days, because Vince McMahon accused of sex trafficking. I can't even finish that headline.
God.
Accused of sex trafficking by WWE staffer he paid to keep quiet. It is currently February the 7th, 2024. It is a Wednesday. The weather is bleak. The temperature is dropping. And my reasons for being a wrestling fan get smaller and smaller by the day. Now, don't get me wrong. This video is entirely about the Vince McMahon situation. Because on Friday, 2 days from now, we're going to be recording a video about the Rumble and Cody Rhodes and Dwayne Johnson. I'm not going to call him The Rock. He doesn't deserve that name anymore, because he's not The Rock. He's Dwayne. But we're going to talk about that in a few days. For now,
yes,
we need to talk about Vince McMahon, don't we?
Unfortunately, yes. We can't avoid it anymore. I think we've been putting this off for a while.
We've been sitting on this for a little while. I feel like all of these emotions that we're sitting on, if I've learned anything from my new therapy sessions, it's that it's better to put things out there and talk about it instead of just sitting on it for years and years and letting it build up.
The RAF are flying over my house, so...
I told you should not live near the RAF's airbase.
I don't... It's not my fault!
You're an alien on Earth. You're just asking to be discovered at this point. They're monitoring you actively. Has he left the house today?
Yes. Excellent.
Oh no.
We can spy on him now.
Let's warn everyone. We have to crack jokes, because this topic is not funny.
Oh, it's depressing. This is going to
be... awful. I mean, there's a few ways we can navigate this. I do want to go into the details of this lawsuit, because it bears repeating how much of a piece of shit demon, human garbage, subhuman garbage, Vince McMahon is now objectively subhuman garbage. Vince McMahon is. Before this, it's been known that maybe Vince McMahon is a real jerk, you know? Like, he's a bit iffy backstage sometimes, you know? He pushes the wrong people, he books himself in weird storylines. Like, there's been a cult of personality around Vince McMahon for the last 40 years. And you know this better than anybody.
Yeah, I mean, ever since... I mean, it's Vince. It's the guy who made wrestling what it is. What it is. Like, it's the only reason it probably exists. And he is a total lower than piece of shit. Just utter... I have no words. I just... Reading
There's no
the lawsuit,
words for the depravity and the awfulness of the actions that we've had to read about from the Wall Street Journal. 12 days ago, they broke this headline. Vince McMahon accused of sex trafficking by WWE staffer he paid to keep quiet. Now, if you cast your minds back 2 years ago, you may remember when we were doing news on this show, we talked about Vince McMahon signing NDAs, paying off women to keep quiet about having sex with them. You can go back and listen to these shows. They are on Spotify, they are in recent history. At the time, we did not understand the severity or the depravity of this situation fully. Now, you can blame that on the initial news reports, you can blame it on us, you can blame anybody for that. I think an apology is due, mostly from me. We were under the impression, at this time, I don't know if you remember when this broke.
Not really. My memory is, it ain't what it used to be, let's put it that way.
Like the old grey mare. She ain't what she used to be. We at the time were under the impression that Vince McMahon had a consensual sexual relationship with a younger WWE staff member, and then paid them money to not tell anybody about it. And we made jokes making light of that situation. We did acknowledge at the time that it was a scummy thing to do, but we didn't quite understand it. And I feel like now that it has come to light that this is what we were talking about, I feel like we need to right that wrong, and we need to talk about it today and just really get to the bottom of this situation. How do we proceed going forward? What do we do with this information? And how can we best deal with it, for lack of a better term?
I mean, there's a difference between what we knew then and what we knew now. Like, adultery is one thing, but there's this.
I mean, there were trigger warnings at the start of this video. I put it in a little warning slate, which I just made up, but it bears saying, this is some of the worst things I've ever read before. And I've been on the internet for a majority of my adult life. I've read some shit. This is bad. Topics include sexual violence, abusive relationships, mental health and suicide, and everything that can be covered there in those topics. We're going to go through a couple of key pointers here, just to really hammer home why this situation is worth talking about. We'll start with this. I'm not going to name this woman. Her name is present in the Wall Street Journal article, but there's no point in naming her at this point. This is a real woman who has had the following interactions with Vince McMahon. She got to know Vince because they lived in the same building. Her parents had died after she had been their caregiver, lost her family house, and was unemployed. Their relationship started with Vince acting with empathy to her situation, and confiding in her about his own traumas, before he eventually made their relationship of a sexual nature. As they got closer, he got more physical, and more threatening. This is where the bad stuff happens.
Yeah, this is where... Ooh, yeah.
The long and short of it is that he shared pornographic content of the victim within the company to staff, including the man who they may be calling Brock Lesnar. In the article, he is referred to as a former UFC World Heavyweight Champion who they were trying to re-sign at the time. This is circa 2019, 2020 sort of time.
I mean, there's only one person that fits that bill, really, so...
And it's not Matt Riddle.
No, it is not.
No. At numerous points, Vince begins the sexual advances with the victim, clearly denying him, before he coerces her with threat of legal action or just physically forces her to have sex with him.
Jesus fucking Christ.
It's one thing to say that he rapes somebody. That's exactly what he did. But he did more than this. The victim clearly asked Vince for protection, which never happened. In perhaps the worst thing you'll ever hear, Vince McMahon forces her to have a threesome without protection, where he defecates on her head and leaves to shower while the other man has sex with her. And if that ain't the worst thing we've ever heard on this show, that's gotta be a new record.
There's not many times where I'm rendered speechless.
This is one of them?
Yep. I have no words. Like, what the fuck? I mean,
we've always known that Vince McMahon has a weird fetish for his employees, like, oh, Gary Strider.
Wow. But
we always like to make jokes of it, but did you know he has a series of dildos named after different wrestlers? The black ones are named after black wrestlers. The white ones after white wrestlers. He would use these dildos in various rape scenarios.
Fucking hell. Jesus fucking Christ.
John Laurinaitis is also involved in this suit.
Oh, didn't he say that? Oh, I'm a victim. I'm like, are you?
He did say that, to which I say, fuck you, I hope you burn in hell too.
Yep.
There was a time, bearing in mind this woman was hired in a made-up job title in the legal department. The defendant saying they were immediately surprised that there was not much work assigned to her, struggling even to appear busy in her new role. In stark contrast to the colleagues who complained about overflowing inboxes, the defendant's phone only overflowed with controlling and sexually charged text messages from Vince. There were several instances of sexual violence against this woman, one in particular, during the middle of the working day.
Fuck.
Locked inside an office with Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis taking turns in assaulting her. And again, it's just the worst thing you've ever heard.
Yeah, this is the worst thing. Like, I have no words for this man's depravity.
Depravity, that's the word.
It's just fucking hell.
There's a reason why we're doing this. We're not just saying this just to say it. We want to get into this. And of course you're uncomfortable. Good. You should be. If you weren't feeling uncomfortable right now, I would be worried for your own mental state. This means you have somewhat of a moral compass. Vince basically trafficked this woman to John Laurinaitis, attempted to traffic her to Brock Lesnar. The only reason why this never happened physically is because of various weather-related delays to transport and inebriation on the behalf of Brock Lesnar. So there were various digital revenge porn scenarios where he would force her to have pornographic content taken of her. He would distribute this to referees, crew members, other talents, and he admits to this. Vince admits to this at one point, basically saying that he wants her to be his slave. Talking about selling her. And eventually, Linda gets hold of this information.
Oh, God.
Who is in her own right a piece of filth, and threatens to divorce Vince. Vince does not want to deal with the publicity of a divorce, which is where the NDA agreement comes in.
God.
However, due to a technicality, it is not legally enforceable. Hence why we know this woman's name, and we know that this lawsuit is happening. Full steam ahead, choo-choo, no brakes on the depravity train. The idea that this was an open secret within the company is corroborated in this lawsuit. Which begs the question, who knew what at which time? Now, bearing in mind, this is only from the last 5 years. But people would think this was from, like, the thousands or the 90s or even before then. No, this is very recent history. This has all happened whilst we were getting excited about the product as adults, you know? And that's not to say that he's never done anything like this before.
Well, he has. Like, there's so many stories of Vince doing fucking depraved shit. It's unreal. Like,
Rita Chatterton goes back to the 1980s.
Exactly. So it goes all the way far back, that far back. Like, how he didn't... My question is, how the fuck did this not happen sooner?
As in the nature of this being made public?
Yeah. How like, it's not exactly a fucking, a secret here. It's like the worst kept secret.
Well, there's an answer
ever.
to this. It's threatening behavior. It's the idea that you would be fired and never be able to get employment again again, the details of which are elaborated upon in this lawsuit. The victim noticed that the less she sexually engaged with John Laurinaitis, the less work she had, as Laurinaitis began to belittle the defendant in front of colleagues, and Vince McMahon would frequently make references to his top-of-the-world legal team, which can silence anybody at any time. This was a power dynamic as much as it was a physical dynamic here, of just sheer oppression, degradation, and just the worst thing you could ever imagine. And, as noted in the suit, the victim's trauma and ongoing fears of additional retaliation is so severe that she required extended inpatient treatment. Today, she lives with so much anxiety and depression that she is unable to leave her residence for weeks at a time, and due to this, was terminated from employment of managing the building that she's in. And that's the only job that she could get. She's lost an income of about $80,000 per year. So this woman, even with this going public, feels like there's no future and is completely ruined.
And Vince McShithead is a billionaire.
Yeah. There's a few details that we're skipping over here. Unfortunately, that's not everything. You know, there is more stuff here. But the bare bones of it is that this woman has gone through hell, is a victim of sex trafficking within a wrestling organization that we have been fans of for decades. And we're supposed to just sit here and continue to be fans with this? Now, this is where the details of the suit end, because we're not going to get anywhere by just saying how depraved and awful it is, because as we know, I like to think that we recognize how bad this is.
Well, yeah, you have to be a complete sociopath to not fucking understand how mental and fucked up this all is.
How did you feel when this first broke?
Conflicted. Because the best way to word this is I watched the Royal Rumble with a friend of mine, and my friend's partner was like, this is the first time I've watched WWE. I just happened to be watching this now during... She was like, I don't know if I want to watch this.
Oh, she knew. She knew about this.
Yeah. This is a story that goes beyond wrestling journalistic circles or the bubble that is this industry, I suppose. This goes far wider reaching than anything else. In my opinion, this is just the fucking beginning. This is gonna get way worse. Like, I don't want to compare the two, but when Benoit... Well, when that
Don't
happened,
worry, you're not the first person to compare these situations, and you perhaps won't be the last.
Okay. When that happened, right?
That was before my time, so I wasn't really there, but I can appreciate the severity of that incident.
Yeah, it was like, oh god, this is it. Like this it's all over. This entire industry is going to come crashing down. And the benefit of hindsight, no, because you could just write Benoit off, which they did. They just wrote him out of history. They just ignored his existence and just was like, fuck Chris Benoit, piece of shit.
This is why when we were watching WrestleMania 17, I refused to watch his match with Kurt Angle. Because it's very easy for me to ignore one facet of a multifaceted show and event. However, when it is...
But this is Vince.
When it is the founder, the man whose DNA is, like, intrinsically embedded into this company and its fan base and its presentations, I really don't know what to do. I mean, granted, since I haven't cancelled the network, I watched the Rumble, I'm still going to that live event for my birthday. But then all of this just made me think, why? And you saw me have this dilemma in our Suplah group chat.
Yes.
Took several people to actually talk me out of this horrific rut that I found myself into, where I was like, I'm not even sure if I want to do this channel anymore. I don't even know if I want to watch wrestling as a whole anymore. This has been some of the most difficult it's been to be a fan. And believe me, we've seen some stuff here. None of that at all compares to what we're going through today. And not to make it sound like we're trying to make ourselves sound like we're victims here, but it just fucking sucks, right? Can we just say that? Can we just be honest that this just fucking sucks? That something that you've spent so many years being a fan of, putting your money towards, being invested in. This isn't just Vince.
But you say, well, not to make out like we're victims here. I think every single wrestling fan has been, I don't want to say played, but like, he's like, I don't know how to explain it. It's just his depravity. He's done this the entire time under everybody's noses, and like,
who's to say what he's done in the last 20, 30 years?
And that's the thing. Like you.
This has always been the way that it is, and I want to talk about the company culture as a whole. The fact that this was like an open secret, there were high-ranking executives involved, board of directors members knowing about this. Who knew what at what time? Brock Lesnar has already been involved in this, and they've taken steps to remove him from various pieces of media. Like, he was removed from the Royal Rumble event, he's been taken off of the 2K video game cover. He wasn't explicitly named, but everyone put two and two together and realized that Brock Lesnar was a part of this sex trafficking ring. What is still tripping me up is, what does The Undertaker know? What does John Cena know? What does The Rock know? Steve Austin? Triple H? All of the biggest people in this company. There's no way of knowing if they were at all aware, complicit, any of this stuff.
Oh, the dumbest fucking thing in the entire world was that press conference that Triple H did.
Oh, the response to the question, yeah. Cody Rhodes gave a very good response to it, I thought. Bearing in mind, it doesn't really involve him at all. The Royal Rumble setting was very focused on his win at the time. And so for fucking Nick Hausman, for him to fucking ask the question to Cody, like, this isn't really the person you should be asking this to. I mean, granted, he is the face of the company now. Like, undisputedly. Yeah, surely you would want to get his feelings on it, but really? Really, you're going to ask him that? And granted, he gave a very good answer. However, Triple H did not. People have said that it's a record-setting fumble in how he handled it. He instead said, focus on the positives and how much money this company has made with our Netflix deal, in which I think, why are you my favourite wrestler of all time?
What does
he know? He must know. Not only is he one of the most high-ranking stars in the entire company.
This is his father-in-law.
Father-in-law, family, hello. And this all calls Stephanie McMahon's departure from the company around the time of this occurring. It puts that into a different light. What does she know? What does Shane know? You know, it's a big, ugly ball that's rolling down a horrible hill.
This is what I mean.
It makes it really difficult to try and justify to myself why I'm still involved with this company.
The issue that I have is a part of me never wants to watch WWE again. And then there's a part of me that's like, you know what? He ain't there anymore. And I enjoy this.
But it's not that he's not there anymore. My point with this is that this is a company-wide problem. This is a company that is complicit in these dealings. They are the ones who hide it from everybody else, you know?
Yeah.
This is the point that, like, the talent are involved at this point. Like, he's showing crew members and referees pornographic images of a fellow employee that he's got as a slave. I just the fucking what, mate? Like, it just doesn't go away if Vince goes to jail, which he probably won't because he's white and rich and old. Even though he definitely should. My point is that this entire thing is deeper than Vince and Johnny. This lawsuit is against those two, but also the entire company, because that company served as a way to cover it all up. With funding, money, all of that stuff. And I don't understand how I'm able to continue with this.
Back to the thing I was about to say.
Yes, of course.
A part of me is where you're at, and the other part of me is like, no, fuck you, you fucking dickhead. I like this, and I'm not going to let you fucking ruin this for me. Because...
Yeah.
It's like, if you stop, it's almost like, I don't want to say he wins, but it's kind of... I don't know how else to explain it. It's
I get what you mean. Like,
it's so complicated.
It is.
And,
there's no answer to any of these questions. No. This is the following thing: is that this is only going to get worse throughout time. We still have a lot of time to see where this goes and everything. But
mate, this is going to get. When I say that this is going to get worse, I don't think we can fathom at the minute how bad this is going to get. This is going to be really bad. This is going to be cataclysmic, like an Armageddon, fucking apocalyptic scale thing for WWE. The only thing that TKO can do is get rid of anything that this guy had his fingerprints on, which is incredibly fucking difficult because it's Vince McMahon. But, like...
given enough time, I think we will be able to have a WWE that is not intrinsically linked to Vince. It's been about a year and a half since he's been taken out of creative and replaced with Triple H. And he has his faults, granted, but...
yeah, but...
I think the product as a whole of what's being booked currently is still better than anything Vince did for the longest time. I mean, granted, The Rock came along and said, bitch, you fought. But I maintain that I want to be a fan of this. That's the fucking point of this. Like, if I wasn't as attached to this, I would have already said, fuck you, bye. But the fact that I've dedicated at least 13, 14 years of my life of being a fan of this thing, and not just WWE, wrestling as a whole, as a professional art form, it's so intrinsically linked into my personality now. It's not going to be easy to reconcile this.
I've been watching this since I was 8 years old, and I'm now nearly 3 years old. Like, this thing for me is, it is what it is. I just there's a level of anger.
Oh, I'm pissed beyond belief.
Because like, I can't imagine what the fuck this woman's been through.
No, not at all.
But from where I'm sat, I'm angry because it's like, well, you've literally done this under the cover of fucking and I hate the fucking guy, and I want him to go to prison. I just fuck off. And I think anyone who was complicit, like you're saying, anyone who knew anything, needed to get fucking removed out of this company and just piss the fuck off. Just go away. Forever. And it doesn't matter who it is. It could be anybody. It could be fucking anybody. I don't care. Anyone that knew about this, anyone that...
It would be heartbreaking if it were certain individuals, like...
Yeah, of course it would.
John Cena, you know?
But at the end of the day, like, it has to be done. Like, I don't understand how you can't just put it all on one guy, because people must have known. It's not...
Well, the lawsuit states that it's not just Vince. It's Vince, it's Johnny, it's at least 4 unidentified board of directors, like influential employees, and also Brock Lesnar.
Oh yeah, outside of those people, what is all I'm saying. Like, you have to, like...
Yeah, what did Heath Slater know? What if these jobber guys, they clearly must not have known. But what if they did? This is the but what if they did question. It's gonna haunt me for a little while now, I think. Because yeah, I can just ignore all of this. I can go forward and, like, see the product for what it is today. But what does Roman know? What does Paul Heyman know?
Oh, you know what really fucking irritates me as well, right? Remember, was it last year or was it the year before that? Where Vince comes out and he does like he does a series of like victory parade-esque.
Yeah, when these allegations first broke, he went on TV.
And he got the fans to be like, to say thank you, Vince, or we love Vince, Vince is God. And he just like...
I've never understood why people are like that, though. From any standpoint. Even before all of these allegations were made public. Why do you like Vince?
Because the thing is...
He's a bit of a meme, yeah, and it's funny to do the ha-ha-ha thing, but I don't know about you, I'm not really comfortable doing that anymore.
No, God no. But what I'm saying is...
Why would you like Vince?
Why do I like Vince?
Like, why does anyone like Vince?
Oh,
like,
right,
even in
kayfabe,
kayfabe, like, Mr. McMahon is a fucking evil character. Like, why would you ever enjoy him anyway? And yet Vince McMahon has always been a problematic figure in the first place, but we always enjoyed WWE in spite of him. So I've never understood the worship that he gets. Just because he owns the fucking thing.
It's because he made it. It's because this is
it.
And but he used this is the thing as well. This is why as fans we need to be more mad about this, because
I am so mad and upset and angry.
No, you need to be even more mad, fam, because he used us. He knew full well what he did, and he would use the platform that he has to manipulate the fans into saying that he's fucking brilliant. That's why I'm really mad. Because it's like, you shithead, piece of shit human being. That's it. That's why I'm mad. That's why I couldn't articulate earlier. Because he manipulated every single fucking person for years into thinking that he's some sort of wrestling god. Oh, I am God. I have created this fucking universe. Ha ha, everyone worship me. Don't look into my fucking weird sketch shit that I do. Just don't look into that. Don't look into the fucking weird videos I send to people. Don't look at any of this shit.
I mean, granted, there is one little thing I want to talk about, and that's Mick Foley. Because he has recently weighed in on these allegations. I feel like he's one of the biggest names in the industry to actually talk about this.
Hasn't he done like campaigning for what's the correct word? Domestic abuse and rape?
Yeah, he was a volunteer for the RAIN hotline for a few years.
Yeah.
But this is what Foley has said. I've got a few things here. He says, I don't know all of the facts, but man, it's really ugly. I feel very similar, just like that dead inside feeling the way I had in 2007 after the Benoit murders. I hope it doesn't take away from people's amazing memories of all of the things that Vince created or helped create, including my characters and the programs that I was in. He was such a big part of it. I wish he really just stepped aside the first time we heard just a little hint of these allegations.
Yeah.
So, clearly he didn't know, and for all intents and purposes, him and Vince have had a somewhat unique relationship based on his books and the way he's talked about him in various interviews, in that they were never really close friends, but there was that level of respect between them.
I mean, didn't Vince, part of this NDA, the hush money and all that, did he do that? Am I right in thinking he did that without the WWE as a company knowing that he did it, and he just did it sort of like in a circumvented
This is the other thing, though, is that, I mean, for one thing, he never finished paying the full NDA amount. He pledged as part of the NDA that he would pay the victim $3 million, and he only ever paid $1 million. But you know what?
God.
But the point is that you remember when it first came out and you had that independent investigation made up of the WWE's board of directors looking into the situation. Apparently that was all a farce. And
of course it was.
Bollocks, because this victim was never ever contacted despite willing to prepare and give information about it. They were never once contacted about the situation. So
what, the guy that somebody died during his pay-per-view and he just kept it going? Oh, I can't imagine.
Well, this is the other thing. This is the other thing
like
as well.
This guy would...
Like, this has kind of been a wake-up call for me, because we've been fans for so long. We've known about Vince. We've known about stuff that he's done. Including the Owen Hart thing, including the steroids thing, including the Benoit thing.
He should have been thrown in prison for the steroids thing, for fuck's sake.
But this is what I'm saying. He's always been a piece of shit. Why is it only until now that we have drawn the line here?
It's because it's wrestling. Nobody cared. Nobody cares. Because it's wrestling, nobody gives a shit. If this was any other...
But why didn't we give a shit? That's what I've struggled to deal with as well, is that, like, this complicit thing of being a fan whilst knowing all of this garbage shit that he's done.
Because at every turn, right, there's been, like, an excuse where, like, he isn't actually it's not directly his fault. So, like, with the steroids thing, he got acquitted. So, alright.
That's still not directly his fault, though.
Snail's fault, but whatever.
And the Jimmy Snuka thing as well.
Yeah, the Jimmy Snuka thing, but, like, even with the Owen Hart thing, you know, you can make the argument that it was the fucking company that, like, the actual apparatus, the actual equipment that provided the equipment that fucked up. Like, you try telling that to Martha Hart, but you know what I mean. There's always something that gets Vince out of it, if that makes sense. With this, there ain't no way of getting out of it. This is from Satan himself. This is directly from the source. It's not as if Vince could turn around and go, well, it's not my fault, Benoit topped himself and killed his family. Like, yeah, CTE. Like, it's he had a legitimate get out of jail, pardon the pun, free clause. Like the chance card in fucking Monopoly. Like, he had that. And now he ain't got it, because this is directly him. I think this is the difference between all the other scandals that he's kind of got away with. He had a get out of jail free card. And he was able to get around it. And I think it's not so much we didn't care. I think we just sort of just went, well, yeah, okay. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't go to prison because of the steroids. You know, all these other things are not directly his fault, but it kind of is, but it ain't. And I think that's the reason, is you can't hate the guy.
I mean, there is also, like, plausible deniability with a lot of this stuff, in that, like us at a point, We only ever knew that Vince cheated on his wife, was a bit of a deviant, and then paid women to keep quiet about it. We never knew about rape, sex trafficking, or any of this other vile shit that he did. Does that plausible deniability extend as far as his son-in-law? And the top stars of the company from the last 30 years?
It sounds like he did keep this a secret. Maybe, I don't know. And this is what I mean. We're going to find out. I guarantee you we are going to find out. That your question will be answered. We can't answer it now, but I guarantee you your questions will be answered remarkably quick.
It's just not fair. None of this is fair. I'll be bold, I'll say it. This fucking sucks.
Yeah, but the only way that this will ever be fair is if this twat gets thrown in prison. But he won't, and I know he won't, because he'll probably end up dying or something before fucking... Even though he looks like Vincent fucking Price for some reason. Oh, by the way, my mate's wife was like... If I had to picture what a sex trafficker would look like, she said, that would be it. Like, that would be the guy. And it just, it makes me annoyed when these things happen because it's a bit like the Jimmy Savile shit. Like, people knew. People fucking knew.
Oh, yeah. The BBC,
look at him, he's a creepy cunt.
They cultivated it.
And that's the irritating thing.
They gave him the keys to the morgue.
Yeah. And that's the part of it that also angers me, is that people fucking knew and they just sort of went along with it. That fucking annoys me so much. I'm just like...
I think we're at the point now where it's not safe to have any idols in wrestling anymore. Apart from, a safe, fair few people.
Generally in life, just don't have any. They're all
Don't look up to anybody.
Don't, because they're all cunts. So don't.
Focus on yourself. Make yourself the person that people look up to.
Yeah. Be the opposite of this... No, people look down at me because I'm... I've got this joke now.
No, I feel like we've done enough negativity on this, understandably, but I feel like we need to figure out a way that we can move past this and move on and still want to create wrestling content, whilst knowing that all of this is going on and happening. We don't endorse it.
I don't know how... Oh, yeah, I mean...
Just saying, Matt, we don't endorse this, if you couldn't already catch that vibe that we're trying to cultivate here. Thank God this news broke today and not 10 years ago. Imagine what Liam would say.
Oh my lord. Oh my god. Fucking hell.
You know what? I miss the days of wrestling when we were just so angry about Daniel Bryan. You know, I miss when that was the thing we were mad about. Now we've got this shit. What the fuck are we supposed to do? Hey, do you want to do a tier list of awful things that has ever happened, ever, and feel bad about it? You should feel bad. Do you know that? You should feel bad for liking this.
Yeah, but... Here's the thing, right? What movie did I watch the other night? Oh, Pulp Fiction, right? Really good film. Say what again? I fucking... It's so good. Right at the start, it says executive producer Harvey Weinstein. And you're like, ooh, fucking hell. But the movie's good. So it's like...
You know what? It's a fair comparison, but I feel like a more accurate comparison would be if Harvey Weinstein was a featured character in the movie.
Oh god, yeah, that'd be even worse.
Playing himself. Where there's scenes of him fondling women inappropriately.
Do you know the amount of segments that involve shit? What do you think about it?
That's the thing, Andy. I don't want to think about it.
Okay, I'm not helping the situation really, I'm making it worse.
WrestleMania 17 has somehow aged even worse.
It's not the best pay-per-view.
That wasn't the best storyline ever. It wasn't at the time. It certainly isn't now.
I don't know where do we go from here? Are we having a crisis live?
No, I'll tell you.
Okay.
I'll tell you.
Okay.
The way we go is forward. We don't spend time dwelling on the past, looking back, getting caught in our feelings about what has happened. What we instead need to do is take in this information, respect it, understand it, come to terms with it, and use it to move forward. Because let's face it, it's in our DNA at this point. We've been through so much shit as wrestling fans. This isn't a squeaky clean industry. Never has been, clearly never will be. It's just the way that it goes.
And there's a load of businesses out there outside of wrestling that if you looked into it, there's some fucked up shit.
Do you still eat Subway?
Yes.
Do you abhor pedophilia?
What do you know?
Do you know what abhor means? Disavow. Look down on. Not endorse.
Oh yeah, I don't like pedophilia.
Well, exactly.
But...
The fucking pedophile sandwich man hasn't ruined your ability to go to Subway.
Oh, that guy. Sorry, I was wondering where you were going with this. I was like, what are you talking about?
I thought you would have known. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, you still eat Subway, even though Jared was a nonce. Right, gotcha. Got it now.
You're still gonna watch WWE and be pissed about The Rock. Oh fuck, you're gonna be pissed about Dwayne, sorry. And you're still gonna go forward and you still want Cody to finish the story, right?
Yes, and we're still going to AEW All In, so...
Exactly, even though Tony Khan gets more cringe every week.
But at least, hopefully, he ain't Vince.
At least that's the worst he'll be, is just a cringe little Nepo baby. And
that's
not a
fine by me.
Sex trafficker.
You know what I mean? Like, everyone's just like, Tony Khan is a dickhead. And I'm like, hello? Vince.
Look at him. Look at that. Should be behind bars. Again, that's what we do. We go forward, we respect the gravity of the situation, we apologize for any previous transgressions when talking about this.
Yeah, but we didn't know. Okay, we didn't have all the information.
We didn't.
If it was literally like, oh, he was unfaithful to Linda and paid money
in a consensual relationship.
Yeah, then you'd be alright. Alright, then he's just a. Because
that was part of the fucking report. It was consensual.
Yeah, so you go, alright, if everything's consensual.
In truth, it was the exact opposite.
Exactly, and now that we know what we know, I go fuck yourself, Vince.
That's basically it.
Just go fuck yourself. Just literally, I hope you rot in a prison cell somewhere. You fucking dickhead. Fuck off. Just fuck the fuck off. Go away. I would be happy if Vince just fell off the face of the fucking earth.
I think we also need to rescind his end of year awards, Dickhead of the Year award.
No, it is the Vince McMahon...
No, he's worse than a dickhead.
Oh,
Calling
him
a dickhead makes it seem like a light, fun little jape. No, he's worse. He's worse than that. And we need to recognize that he is a fucking horrific demon who deserves to rot in a prison cell for eternity as atonement for his crimes. CM Punk is a dickhead. You know
what?
There's the difference.
We're retrospectively changing it.
Yeah.
CM Punk is a dickhead. Vince McMahon is Satan.
Yeah. There you go. Congratulations, Punker. You came out of this looking better somehow.
You know what? That's incredible. Like, if you told us this 2 months ago, that no, it's definitely Vince who's worse. You go, why? No,
yeah, listen to us arguing about who was worse. Like, oh, fuck.
Again, we didn't have the information that we have now.
It's just Vince. He's the worst. And we know this now.
So, this has been an interesting episode.
Look forward to the next video where we inevitably talk about what is happening over there. Look at that dumpster fire in the distance, if you smell.
I am slightly concerned that the if you smell story situation is overshadowing this. And I'm glad we did this episode to remind people that this is actually still happening.
Well, that was the whole point
like...
of it, is that, again, we'll talk about it in the actual video relating to the topic, not to take away from this, but the idea of The Rock doing what Dwayne did.
Just call him The Rock. The gimmick is not going to work anymore.
Fuck's sake. The idea of him doing what he's done to take away from the Vince situation, to distract everybody, it's kind of worked in written form. But when you actually look at it, you've made it worse. Because the Vince situation is just going to keep coming up again and again and again for the rest of time. This is just a brief flash in the pan fucking, oh, look at me, if you smell, I'm a dickhead, oh. It's not the right thing to do. But that's a little teaser for the next video. Probably going to record that in a few days after the press conference, which I'm sure will go very well and nothing bad will happen. The end.
And Cody will finish the story.
Maybe not the story we want, but he'll finish a story. And with that, we'll finish this story.
So thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time. Fuck off, Vince McMahon.
Go outside, have a walk, do some self-care, whatever you need to do to get over this. And we'll be right back here again to be angry and miserable at something else.